Most of proper obedience of obeisances to Lord Sweet of Asmati Guru Karpatman Tana Prush Jai Guru Shishima Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Tana for obeisances to Lord Sweet of Triyanti Sannyasi Shishima Bhaktivedanta Dandi Maharaj Namita Santa Shri Aniruddha Das Prabhuji. All the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavas who are gathered here for Bhagavad Gita online class, please accept my humble obeisances. So I am very happy that today we are going to discuss Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Sarvopanishato Gavo Dugdha Gopal Nandana, Partho Vatsadir Bhakta Dugdham Gita Amritam Mahat. So Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all the scriptures, all the Upanishads. It is like the milk. Parth, Arjuna is the calf, and Lord Krishna is the cowherd boy. There is a Bhagavad Gita written by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, and this is called Bhagavad Gita as it is. This particular Bhagavad Gita was widely circulated all over the world, and it is available in many forms, in the e-book form also, PDF format, and also hard copy. This time of the year, ISKCON devotees, they try to vigorously push this Bhagavad Gita as it is. At street corners, at signals, at malls, at offices, houses, congregations, gatherings, rich persons, anywhere they push this because this is the order of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. So verse number 247, Yogastha Guru Karmani. We'll take one verse before also. So Karmani eva adhikaraste ma phaleshu karachana ma karma phalehetur ma karma phalehetur mahato swangastama karmani. Karmani in prescribed duties eva certainly adhikara, right, te of you, ma never phaleshu in the fruits, karachana at any time, ma never karma phala in the result of the work, hetu cause, bhu become, ma never te of you, sangaha attachment, astu there should be, akarmani is not doing prescribed duties. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of actions. Never consider yourself to be the cause of the results of your activities and never be attached to not doing your duty. So, here, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj is telling, and Srila Krishna is also telling that do your activity. Don't be attached to the result. Don't attach to the result because result is not in our hand. Result is in hand of Sri Krishna. So, Naham Karta Hari Karta. So, but we should do our action, and there is no loss or diminution if we do our action properly. So there are three considerations here: prescribed duties, capricious work, and inaction. Capricious work and inaction. So here, word capricious, actually a little heavy for me. I'll check the dictionary. Changeable, determined by chance or impulse or whim rather than by necessity or reason. So here, freakish or impulsive, that is what we call whimsical work, as they will call it. So, three considerations: prescribed duties, capricious work means unnecessary work, and inaction. Prescribed duties refer to activities performed while one is in the modes of material nature. Capricious work means actions without the sanction of authority. Inaction means not performing one's prescribed duties. The Lord advised Arjuna not to be inactive, but that he perform his prescribed duty without being attached to the result. One who is attached to the result of his work is also the cause of the action. Thus, he is the enjoyer or sufferer of the result of such actions. As far as prescribed duties are concerned, they can be fitted into three subdivisions, namely routine work, emergency work, and desired activities. Routine work in terms of spiritual injunction is done without desire for results, as one has to do it. Obligatory work is action in the mode of goodness. Work with results becomes the cause of bondage. Therefore, such work is not auspicious. Everyone has his proprietary right in regard to prescribed duties, but should act without attachment to the results. Such disinterested obligatory duties bound doubtlessly lead one to the path of liberation. Arjun was therefore advised by the Lord to fight as a matter of duty without attachment to the result. His non-participation in the battle is other side of attachment. Such attachment never leads one to the path of salvation. Any attachment, positive or negative, is cause for bondage. Inaction is sinful. Therefore, fighting as a matter of duty was the only auspicious path of salvation for Arjuna. So sometimes you just have to do it because whether it is palatable work or unpalatable, because it's a prescribed duty. Like you are a doctor, then your job is to perform an operation. You can't just avoid an operation. Patient needs it. You have to do biopsy. You have to do all these things. So yogastha kuru karmani samnam taktva dhananjaya siddhi asaddhayo samabhutva samatvam yoga muchyate. Yogastha equipoised to perform karmani your duty sangam attachment taktva giving up dhananjaya. O Arjuna, siddhi asiddhayo in success and failure samaha equipoised bhutva becoming samatva equanimity yoga uchyate is called. Be steadfast in yoga. Arjuna, perform your duty and abandon all attachment to success or failure. Such evenness of mind is called yoga. So Krishna tells Arjuna that he should act in yoga. And what is that yoga? Yoga means to concentrate the mind on the Supreme by controlling the ever disturbing senses. Who is the Supreme? The Supreme is the Lord. And because he himself is telling Arjuna to fight, Arjuna has nothing to do with the results of the fight. Gain or victory are Krishna's concern. Arjuna is simply advised to act according to the direct dictation of Krishna. The following of Krishna's dictation is real yoga, and this is practiced in the process called Krishna consciousness. By Krishna consciousness only can one give up the sense of proprietorship. One has to become the servant of Krishna or the servant of Krishna. That is the right way to discharge duty in Krishna consciousness, which alone can help one to act in yoga. Arjuna is a Kshatriya, and as such is participating in the Varnashram Dharma institution. It is said in the Vishnu Puran that in the Varnashram Dharma, the whole aim is to satisfy Vishnu. No one should satisfy himself, as is the rule in the material world, but one should satisfy Krishna. So unless one satisfies Krishna, one cannot correctly observe the principles of Varnashram Dharma. Indirectly, Arjuna was advised to act as Krishna told him. So whatever our Gurudev says, Gurudev is, now we cannot say Krishna, but okay, Gurudev is there, so whatever Gurudev says, we should say, all right, Gurudev, I will do whatever you say. I will be done. So we should surrender to our Gurudev, who is like Krishna for us. Understand? In your case, Sripad Dandi Maharaj, whatever he says, you should try to do it. Even though it may be difficult, you should do it. I should try to follow also my Guru. So like this, everyone should follow senior Vaishnavas and Gurudev especially. So in this way, we can be successful in life. So the Gurudev actually also has written this commentary on these particular verses. We'll try to read that. Karmanevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phaletur mati sangostata karmani the prescribed duty eva certainly adhikara a right they your ma never phaleshu the fruits of work kadachana at any time ma not karma phala towards the result of work hetu cause bhu be ma not te you tanga attachment astu there must be akarmani accomplishing prescribed duties. You are only eligible to perform your prescribed work, but you have no right to the fruits of your actions. You should not consider yourself to be the cause of the results of your actions, nor should you become attached to neglecting your duties. Saratavarshini. Shri Bhagavan is the instructor of Jnana Yoga, the path of spiritual advancement through transcendental knowledge, Bhakti Yoga, the path of loving devotion, and Karma Yoga, the path of spiritual advancement, where the fruit of one's pious action is offered to the Lord. So far, he has directed his instructions about Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga to his dear friend Arjuna. Now, having considered Arjuna's eligibility to perform these two processes, he explains selfless action or Nishkam Karma Yoga in two verses. The first beginning with Karmani. By the words Mahaphaleshu, Krishna intends to say that those who desire the fruits of their actions have extremely impure hearts. Your heart, however, is almost pure. I know this, and that is why I am speaking in this way. If one points out that any action one performs will be fruit, Shri Bhagavan responds, Ma karma phala hetur bhu. A person becomes the cause of the fruits of action only when he acts with a desire for it. You should not act like that. I bless you not to fall into this category. Akarma means neglecting prescribed duties. Vikarma means performing sinful activities. You should not become attached to either these. Rather, you should despise them. I again bless you that you will be able to do this. In the Gita, Arjuna says, Vyamishrineva Vyakyena Buddhim Mohesi Vame. My intelligence is bewildered by your apparently ambiguous instructions. From this, it should be understood that the previous statements in this chapter are not entirely consistent with later statements. But here, Sri Krishna's inner feelings towards Arjuna are worth considering. Just as I have become your subordinate by acting as your chariot driver, similarly, you should also become a follower of my order. So here, Bhagavan is telling that I have become your subordinate by acting as your chariot driver. Similarly, you should also become a follower of my order. Sarada Vashni Prakashika Vritti by Srila Gurudev. Through Arjuna, Bhagavan Shri Krishna is giving instruction on selfless action offered to the Supreme Lord for those who do not have the eligibility to follow the paths of Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 11 Canto, 3rd chapter, 43rd verse, it is stated, Karma karma vikarmeti vedavado nalaukika. An understanding of action, karma, and non-performance of prescribed religious duties within the Varnashram system, akarma, and sinful action, vikarma, can only come from the Vedic literature, not from the words of mundane persons. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur quotes Krishna as saying, there are three types of karma to consider, karma, akarma, and vikarma. Of these, vikarma, engaging in sinful activities, and akarma, non-performance of prescribed religious duties within the Varnashram system, are extremely inauspicious. You should not desire them. Give up vikarma and akarma and carefully follow the path of karma. Karma is of three types, daily duties, nitya karma, occasional duties, naimittik karma, and fruity activities, kanya karma. Of these three, the last is most inauspicious, fruity activities. Those who perform kamya karma become the cause of the fruit of their activities. So it is for your benefit that I am telling you to not adopt this method of action, because if you do, you will become the cause of the results of your actions. You have the right to perform your prescribed duties, but you do not have the right to the fruits of any action. It is acceptable for those who take shelter of yoga to perform nitya karma and naimittik karma solely in order to maintain their lives. 48. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tattva dhananjaya siddhi asiddhayo samo bhutva samatvam yogam uchyate. Yogastha, being situated in bhakti yoga, kuru, perform, karmani, prescribed duties, sangam, attachment, as the performer of action, tattva, abandoning, dhananjaya, O Dhananjaya, Arjuna, siddhi asiddhayo, in success and failure in regards to the fruit of action. Samaha, equipoised, bhutva, having become, samatvam, equanimity, yoga, uchyate is called. O Dhananjaya, completely give up attachment to success or failure of the results of your work. Thus, connected in Bhakti Yoga, perform your prescribed duty with equanimity. Such equanimity is called yoga. In this verse, beginning with Yogastha, Shri Bhagavan is giving instructions on selfless action, on Nishkam Karma. He says, become equipoised in victory and defeat. Just perform your prescribed duty of engaging in this battle. The results of Nishkam Karma Yoga is that it cultivates in Jnana Yoga. Thus, Jnana Yoga is the purport of the previous verse and the following verse. Saratha Varshini Prakashika Vritti. Intelligence which is equipoised in the face of the success or failure of one's prescribed work is called yoga. Now, verse number 49. Turena hi avaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddhau sharanam anvicha krupana phalahe tava. Turena, throw, far away, he, because avaram is vastly inferior, karma, fruitive activity, buddhi yoga, by the yoga of intelligence, selflessly offering all the fruits of one's actions to Shri Bhagwan, Dhananjaya, O Dhananjaya Arjuna, Buddha, within the culture of intelligence, Nishkama karma, Sharanam, shelter, Anvicha, accept, Kripanaha, misers, Plahetava, desire the fruits of their activities. O Dhananjaya, action performed by those desires of its fruit is vastly inferior to selfless action offered to the Lord. You should take shelter of this selfless action, Nishkam Karma Yoga. Those who desire the fruits of their action are misers. Saratuvashini. In speaking this verse, beginning with Turena, Shri Bhagavan is criticizing fruitive action. That is Sakam Karma or Kamya Karma. Kamya Karma is very inferior to Nishkam Karma Yoga, which is offered to the Lord and which is called Buddhi Yoga. Here, the word Buddha implies performing action without a desire for fruit, Nishkam Karma, while Buddhi Yoga implies worship of the Supreme Lord by selflessly offering him the fruit of one's work without attachment, Nishkam Karma Yoga. Saratha Varshini Prakashika Vritti. Krupana refers to those miserly persons who are unable to understand the meaning of Kam Karma Yoga, selfless action dedicated to Bhagavan. Such people are attached to the fruits of their activities, and consequently, they are sometimes happy and sometimes distressed. This topic has been explained at greater length in the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad. Once there was a great assembly of realized sages in the royal court of Janak Maharaj. Janak Maharaj's royal servants brought to that assembly hundreds of milk-giving cows, along with their beautiful calves. The horns of the cows were encased in gold, and their hooves in silver. Beautiful cloth decorated with golden ornaments graced their backs. Holding his hands, Janak Maharaj addressed the sages with great humility. Whoever among you is Brahma or knower of the Absolute, I beg you to come and accept his cows. All who were assembled there began to whisper among themselves. No one dared come forward to present himself as Brahmavetta to take the cows. Again Janak Maharaj looked towards them with all seriousness. This time the sage Yajnavalkya got up and told his students, "O boys, take these cows to my ashrama." Hearing this, the other saints objected, saying, "Are you Brahmavetta?" Maharishi Yajnavalkya said, "I offer my obeisances at the feet of those who are Brahmavetta. If you want to examine me or ask any question, please do so." The various sages asked different questions and Yajnavalkya Maharishi gave them befitting answers. At last, the greatly learned Gargi humbly inquired, "Who is a miser and who is a Brahmana?" Yajnavalkya Maharishi's response was this: Yova etat aksharam Gargi aviditvat asmat lokat prayati sakrupanaha. O Gargi, that person is a miser who leaves this world without knowing Shri Bhagavan Achyuta, the infallible absolute reality. Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad 3.8.10. In Srimad Bhagavatam 6, Canto 9, chapter 49 verse, it is said, Naveda Krupana Shreya Atmano Gunavastudru. Misers or Krupanas are those who consider that the ultimate reality consists only of sense objects produced from the material modes. Furthermore, it is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Krupanayo Achitindriya. A miser is a person who has no control over his senses. Verse 50. Buddhi yukta jahatiha uve sukrita dushkrute tasmat yoga yuktasva yoga karma sakau sharam buddhi yukta. And intelligent person comes to Bhagavan through selfless action, Sahati gives up Iha in his birth, Uhe both Sukrita Dushkrite, virtue and vice. Tasma, therefore, yoga, being equipoised. In Nishkam Karma Yoga, you just work, just engage. Yoga, equipoised selfless action. Karmasu, in both fruitive and selfless actions, Kaushalam, the art. Who is fixed in Buddhi Yoga, pure intelligence, relinquishes both virtue and vice in this very life. Therefore, strive to worship the Supreme Lord through performing selfless action, Nishkam Karma Yoga. Working under the shelter of Buddhi Yoga, with equanimity in both success and failure is indeed the art of all action. Here the word yoga means for that yoga which possesses the characteristics mentioned above in the Gita 2.48, Yujjasva means make an endeavor. More specifically, it means being equipoised, endeavor for Nishkam Karma Yoga, selflessly offering the fruit of one's work to Bhagavan. This is because karmasu means among all the fruitive, sakam and selfless Nishkam actions. Yoga refers to the performance of karma while being indifferent to the results. This indeed is Kaushalam, expertise. So here, amazing instructions are given by Lord Krishna. Durena hi avaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddhau sharanam anvicha krupana phalai tama. Durena, discard it at a long distance. He certainly avaram, abominable karma activity, buddhi yoga, on the strength of Krishna consciousness. Dhananjaya, O conqueror of wealth. So in such consciousness, sharanam, full surrender, anuchara, time for krupanaha, misers, falahetavaha, those desiring fruit results. O Dhananjaya, rid yourself of all fruitive activities by devotional service and surrender fully to that consciousness. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their works are misers. One will actually come to understand one's constitutional position as the eternal servitor of the Lord gives up all engagements, say working in Krishna consciousness. As already explained, Buddhi Yoga means transcendental loving service to the Lord. Such devotional service is the right course of action for the living entity. Only misers desire to enjoy the fruit of their own work, just to be further entangled in material bondage. Except for work in Krishna consciousness, all activities are abominable because they continually bind the worker to the cycle of birth and death. One should therefore never desire to be the cause of work. Everything should be done in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of Krishna. Misers do not know how to utilize the assets of riches which they acquire by good fortune or by hard labor. One should spend all energies working in Krishna consciousness, and that will make one's life successful. Like the misers, unfortunate persons do not employ their human energy in the service of the Lord. Bhagavad Gita 2.49. Buddhi yukto jahatiya ube sukrita dushkrite tasmad yoga yujasva yoga karma kaushalam buddhi yukta. One who is engaged in devotional service, jahati, can get rid of in this life, ube, both Sukrita Dushkrute, good and bad results. Tasma, therefore, yoga, for the sake of devotional service, you just be so engaged. Yoga, Krishna consciousness, karmasu, in all activities, kaushalam, art. A man engaged in devotional service reading himself of both good and bad actions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, origin, which is the art of a work. Since time immemorial, each living entity has accumulated the various reactions of his good and bad work. As such, he is continuously ignorant of his real constitutional position. One's ignorance can be removed by the instruction of Bhagavad Gita, which teaches one to surrender unto Lord Krishna, Lord Shri Krishna in all respects, and become liberated from the chain of victimization of action and reaction, birth after birth. Arjuna is therefore advised to act in Krishna consciousness, the purifying process of resultant action. So, Verse 250. Karmajam buddhi yukta hi phalam tattva manishina janma bandha vinmukta padam gacchati anamayam. Karmajam, activities. Buddhi yukta, being engaged in devotional service is certainly phalam, results. Tattva, giving up. Manishinaha, great sages or devotees. Janma bandha, from the bondage of birth and death. Vinirmukta, liberated. Padam, position. Gachanti, they reach. Anamayam, without miseries. The wise engaged in devotional service take refuge in the Lord and free themselves from the cycle of birth and death by renouncing the fruits of actions in the material world. In this way, they can attain that state beyond all miseries. The liberated living entities seek that place where there are no material miseries. The Bhagavatam says, Samashitaye padapallavaplabam mahatpadam punyayasho murare bhavam budirvatsa padam param param yad vipadam natesham. For one who has accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Mukunda, or the giver of Mukti, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoofprint. Parampadam, or the place where there are no material miseries or Vaikuntha, which is both, not the place where there is a danger in every step of life. Owing to ignorance, one does not know that this material world is a miserable place where there are dangers at every step. Out of ignorance only, less intelligent persons try to adjust to the situation by activities, thinking that resultant actions will make them happy. They do not know that no kind of material body anywhere within the universe can give life without miseries. The miseries of life, namely birth, death, old age, and diseases, are present everywhere within the material world. But one who understands his real constitutional position as the eternal servant of the Lord and thus knows the position of the personality of Godhead, engages himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Consequently, he becomes qualified to enter into the way of the planets where there is neither material, miserable life nor the influence of time and death. To know one's constitutional position means to know also the sublime position of the Lord. One who wrongly thinks that the living entity's position and the Lord's position are on the same level is to be understood to be in darkness and therefore unable to engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. He becomes a Lord himself and thus paves the way for the repetition of birth and death. But one who understanding that his position is to serve, transfer himself in the service of the Lord, at once becomes eligible for Vaikuntha Loka. Service for the cause of the Lord is called Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, or in plain words, devotional service to the Lord. Important verse, this one, 250. Very, very important verse. These are all verse. Pazam Diyohi Palam Tattva Manihina Janma Banta Vidyarmata Padam Gacchati Anayam Karmajam, born of fruitive activities. Buddhi Yukta, united with Bhagwan, Buddhi Yoga, or selfless action. He, because, Phalam, results. Tattva, giving up. Manishinaha, sages. Janma Bandha, from the bondage of birth and death. Vidramukta, liberated. Padam, the abode of the Lord. Gachanti, they attain. Anamayam, without misery. Vaikuntha. Enlightened sages enter with Buddhi Yoga, give up the results born of karma, thus becoming free from the cycle of birth and death. They eventually attain Vaikuntha, the state beyond all mundane miseries. What a great hope. So verse 52. Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatitavishyati tada gantas nirvedam shrotavyasa shrutasya cha. Yada, when they, your moha, illusion, kalilam, the dense forest, buddhi, intelligence, vyatitarishati, has completely crossed beyond tada, at that time, gantasi, you shall become nirvedam, indifferent, shrotavyasya, to that which is to be heard, shuddhasya, to all that is already heard, and when your intelligence has completely crossed beyond the dense forest of illusion, you will become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. Sarar Pashini. Shri Bhagavan is speaking this verse beginning with Yada to explain that one becomes situated in yoga where practice selfless offering the fruits of one's action to the Supreme Lord. This is called Nishkama Karma Yoga. When your heart completely transcends the deep forest of illusion, you will become indifferent to all the topics that have already been heard and the various topics that are fit to be heard. A person may raise the question, I have already become free from doubt and I no longer am faulty of an adverse attitude. So what need is there for me to hear the instructions of the scriptures? Bhagavan would then respond, even so, at present, it is appropriate for you to practice at every moment. I have explained Sarada Vashni Prakashika Vritti. The jivas are attacked. The jivas are attached to this world because of their identification with the body. This is the root of the material existence. As long as this material attachment remains, the jivatma cannot attain knowledge of the absolute truth, nor can he become detached from the material world. Nirveda means detachment from the material world. It is not an easy achievement. Through the practice of selflessly offering the fruits of one's work to Bhagavan, one gradually becomes free from the false conception that the body is the self. One then achieves Nirveda, renunciation from all types of activities one has heard about or one will hear about, and which originate from material types described in the scriptures. Eventually, he engages in exclusive devotion to the Lord. This instruction is also in the Vedas. Parikshalokan karma chittan brahmano vedam aya asti akrita krtina Mundakopanishad. A Brahman who knows the absolute truth attains detachment upon understanding that the happiness and pleasure one attains by karma in this world or the next are temporary and distressful. Prahlad Maharaj has given us similar instructions. Adi antavanta urukaya vidanti hitva evam vibrushya sudhiyo viramanti shabda. Urukrama, one who performs wondrous activities. Those who by discrimination realize that all objects have a beginning and an end, give up the study of the Vedas and exclusively engage in bhajan to you. Karmajam buddhi. So, this is actually very important verses. These are telling us how to go to spiritual world. Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatidarishyati tada gantas nirvedam shutavyasta shudasya cha yada when te your moha of illusion kalilam dense forest buddhi transcendental service with intelligence vyatidarishyati surpasses tada at a time ganta asi you shall go nirvedam callousness shutavyasya toward all that is to be heard, Shutasya, all that is already heard, also. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. There are many good examples in the lives of the great devotees of the Lord, those who become indifferent to the rituals of the Vedas simply by devotional service to the Lord. When a person factually understands Krishna and his relationship with Krishna, he naturally becomes completely indifferent to the rituals of relative activities. Even though an experienced Brahmana, Sri Madhavendra Puri, a great devotee and acharya in the line of devotee, says, Sandhya Vandana Bhadramastu Bhavato Snanatubhyam Namo O Deva Pitarasya Tarpana Vidho Naham Kshama Kshamyatam Yatra Kvapi Nishadhyayado Kulutasya Kulutam Yatra Kvapi Nishadhyayado Kulutamasya Kamsadvisha Smaram Agam Haramidadalam Manne Kivanne Name. Oh Lord, in my prayers 3 times a day, all glory to you. Bathing, I offer my obeisances to you. O demigods, O fathers, please excuse me for my inability to offer you my respects. Now, wherever I sit, I can remember the great descendant of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, and thereby I can free myself from all sinful bondage. I think this is sufficient for me. The Vedic rites and rituals are imperative for neophytes, comprehending all kinds of prayer. 3 times a day, taking a bath early in the morning, offering respect to the forefathers, etc. But when one is full in Krishna consciousness and is engaged in his transcendental loving service, one becomes indifferent to all these regulatory principles because he has already attained perfection. If one can reach the platform of understanding by service to the Supreme Lord, he has no longer to execute different types of penances and sacrifices as recommended in revealed scriptures. And similarly, if one has not understood that the purpose of the Vedas is to reach Krishna and simply engage in the rituals, etc., then he is uselessly wasting time in such engagements. Persons in Krishna consciousness transcend the limit of Shabda Brahma or the range of the Vedas and Upanishads. Very powerful book actually. Shruti vipratipanna te yada sthasyanti nishchala samadhavachara buddhistada yogam avapsasi. Shruti of Vedic revelation. Vipratipanna, without being influenced by the future results, te, your, yada, when, sthasya, remains, nishchala, unmoved, samadho, in transcendental consciousness or Krishna consciousness, achala, unflinching, buddhi, intelligence, tada, at that time, yogam, self-realization, abhavsasi, you will achieve. Your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. To say that one is in samadhi is to say that one has fully realized Krishna consciousness. That is, one in full samadhi has realized Brahma, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. The high perfection of self-realization is to understand that one is eternally the servitor of Krishna and that one's only business is to discharge one's duties in Krishna consciousness. A Krishna conscious person or unflinching devotee of Lord should not be disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, nor be engaged in fruitive activities for promotion to the heavenly kingdom. In Krishna consciousness, one comes directly into communion with Krishna, and thus all directions from Krishna may be understood in that transcendental state. One is sure to achieve results by such activities and attain conclusive knowledge. One has only to carry out the orders of Krishna or his representative, the spiritual master. So it is very important to follow the orders of the spiritual master. Verse 53, Shruti vipratipanna te yada sthastasya nishchala samadhavachara buddhis tada yogam avapsasi. Shruti vipratipanna. From hearing the various conflicting materialistic statements as well as false interpretations of the Vedas, te, your, yada, when, sthasyati, will become situated, nischala, detached, samadho, in trance upon the Supreme Lord, achala, steadfast, buddhi, intelligence, sada, in that time, at that time, yogam, the fruit of yoga, avapsasi, you shall achieve. When your intelligence becomes detached from hearing the various conflicting materialistic statements and interpretations of the Vedas, and when it becomes free from all other attachments, while remaining steadfast in the Supreme Lord, you will attain the fruit of yoga, Saratha Varshini. Shri Krishna is saying, after this, you will become detached from hearing about mundane subject matters and even mundane interpretations of Vedic instructions. And as a result, you will become steadfast. Your mind will not be deceived by these topics. In the 6th chapter also, Samadhi is described as fixed or undisturbed. Shri Bhagavan assures Arjuna, then by having direct experience of transcendence through yoga, you will attain freedom from bondage. Verse 54, Arjuna Vacha, this is one question from Arjuna. Sthita pragyasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitari kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim. Arjuna Vacha. Arjuna said, Sthita pragyasya, of one whose intelligence is fixed, ka, what? Bhasha, symptoms such as speech. Samadhistasya, of one situated in trance. Keshava, O Keshava, sthitadhi, one with fixed intelligence. Kim, in what way? Prabhasheta, would he speak? Kim, how? Asita, would he sit? Vrajeta, would he walk? Kim, how? Arjuna said, O Keshava, What are the symptoms of a person whose intelligence is fixed in samadhi? How does he speak? How does he sit? And how does he walk? Sarthavarshini. In the previous verse, Arjuna heard about the intelligence of one fixed in trance. Arjuna now inquires about the symptoms of a true yogi. How do they, whose intelligence is undisturbed and fixed, see the pragya speak? What is the symptom of their language? How do those in samadhi remain situated in trance? The designation sthita pragya, one whose intelligence is fixed, and samadhista, one who is situated in trance, apply to the liberated persons. How do they speak when they face a situation of pleasure or misery, honor or dishonor, glorification or criticism, affection or envy, and so on? Do they speak clearly or do they just contemplate within themselves? How do they sit? How do they engage their senses in the external world? How do they walk? In other words, how do their senses behave in relationship to external sense objects? Saradhavashini Prakashika Bhakti. Begin from this verse, Arjuna asks Sri Krishna 16 questions. In response, Sri Krishna illuminates the deep secrets of the prescribed duty, karma, the path of spiritual advancement in which the fruit of one's work is offered to Bhagavan, Karma Yoga, the fruit of knowledge, Jnana, the path of spiritual advancement through transcendental knowledge, Jnana Yoga, meditation, Dhyana, austerity is Tapasya, devotion mixed with fruitive action, Karma Mishra Bhakti, devotion mixed with empiric knowledge, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, and pure devotion, Shuddha Bhakti. From this verse till the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna gives indications regarding the pure loving devotion, Prema Bhakti, which is the most confidential knowledge. In his conclusion to the Bhagavad Gita, he explains that one can have entrance into Prema Bhakti through the gateway of complete surrender to him. The 16 questions asked by Arjuna are as follows. Number 1. Tita Pragyasya Ka Bhasha. What are the symptoms of one who is of fixed intelligence? Tita Pragya. Number 2. Jayasi Cheta Karmanaste. Why engage me in this ghastly warfare? 3.1. Number 3. Atha Kena Prayuktoyam. What impels one to perform sinful acts? Verse number 3.36. Number 4. Aparam Bhavado Janma. How am I to understand that you previously instructed this science to be Vaswan? Verse 4.4. Number 5. Sannyasam Karmanam Krishna. Which path is better, renunciation or selfless action? 5.1. Number 6. Yogam Yogastvaya Prokta. This path of yoga appears impractical due to the unsteady nature of the mind. 6.33. Number 7. Ayati Shraddhayopeto. What is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist? 6.37. Number 8. Kim tat Brahma Kim Adhyatmam. What are the Brahma, Karma, Adhyatma, Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva, and Adhyargya? And how can you be known at a time of death? 8.1.2. 9. Vaktum Adhasya. Please tell me in detail about your glories or vibhutis. 10.16. Number 10. Evam etat yathatvam. I wish to see how you have entered this cosmic manifestation. 11.3. 11. Acha me ko bhavan ugra rupo. Oh, fierce one, please tell me who you are. 11.31. Number 12. Tesham ke yoga vittama. Who is more perfect? He who performs bhajan or the impersonalist? 12.1. 13. Prakritim Purusham Chaiva. I wish to know about Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetragya, Jnana, and Neya. 13.1. 14. Karlinga Strim Gunahan Etan. What symptoms can one identify a person who has transcended the three modes of matter nature? 14.21. 15. Tesham Nishtha Tuka Krishna. What is the situation of one who does not follow the principles of scripture? 17.1. 16. Sannyasasya Mahabhavu. Oh, mighty number. What is the purpose of the renounced order, sannyas? 18.1. So actually, these are the questions Arjuna had asked, and Bhagavan has answered these questions. So basically answering these questions. So, Shruti Pratipannati Yada Sthasya Sinishala Samadhavachala Buddhis Tada Yogam Avas. Shruti of Vedic revelation, Vipratipanna, without being influenced by the results, they yura, yada, when, sthasati remains, nischala, unmoved, samadho, in transcendental consciousness, or Krishna consciousness, achala, unflinching, buddhi, intelligence, tada, at that time, yogam, self-realization, avastasi, you will achieve. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, you will have attained divine consciousness. To say that one is in samadhi is to say that one has fully realized Krishna consciousness. That is, one is in full samadhi at Brahma, Paramatma and Bhagavan. The highest perfection of self-realization is to understand that one is eternally the servant of Krishna and that one's only business is to discharge one's duties in Krishna consciousness. A Krishna conscious person, or unflinching devotee of the Lord, should not be disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, nor be engaged in fruity activities for promotion to the heavenly plan, to the heavenly kingdom. In Krishna consciousness, one comes directly into communion with Krishna, and thus all directions from Krishna be understood in that transcendental state. He should achieve this by activities and conclusive knowledge. He has to only carry out the orders of Krishna or his representative spiritual master. Already read it. Read once more. So Bhagavad Gita 2.53 Arjuna Vachasti the Prakyasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava Sita bhi kim pravashita kim ankita bhajeta kim Arjuna Vacha Arjuna said be the Prakyasya of who is situated in Krishna consciousness. This Krishna consciousness, ka, what, bhasha, language, samadhistasya of one situated in trance, Keshava or Krishna, Sthita bhi, one fixed in Krishna consciousness, kim, what, Asheta speaks, kim, how, Asita does remains still, Vrajit walks, kim, how. Arjuna said, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak and how is his language? How does he sit and how does he walk? As there are symptoms for each and every man in terms of his particular situation, similarly one who is in Krishna consciousness has his particular nature, talking, walking, thinking, etc. So similarly one who is Krishna conscious has his particular nature, talking, walking, thinking, feeling, etc. As a rich man has his symptoms by which he is known as a rich man, as a deceased man has his symptoms by which he is known as deceased, or as a learned man has symptoms, so a man in transcendental consciousness of Krishna has specific symptoms in various dealings. One can know his specific symptoms of Bhagavad Gita. Most important is how the man in Krishna consciousness speaks. For speech is the most important quality of any man. It is said that a fool is undiscovered as long as he does not speak. And certainly, a well-dressed fool cannot be identified unless he speaks. But as soon as he speaks, he reveals himself at once. The immediate symptom of a Krishna conscious man is that he speaks only of Krishna and of matters relating to him. Other symptoms then automatically follow, as stated below. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Prajahati Yada Kaman Sarvan Parthamano Gatan Atmanyeva Atmana Tushtas. This is a Pragyastha Dhochate Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Prajahati, use of Yada, when, Kaman, desired person's gratification, Sarvan, of all varieties, Partha, O son of Prutha, Gatan, of mental concoction, Atmani, in the pure state of the but certainly, Atmana, as a purified mind, Tushtaha, satisfied, Sthita Prajna, transcendentally situated, Tada, at that time, Uchyate, O blessed, the blessed Lord said, Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of sense desire, he jumps from mental option, and when his mind finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. So, and then another important verse, Dukkeshu Anubignamana, Sukheshu Vigatasvaha, Vitaragava Krodha, Siddhadirmuni Uchyate Dukkeshu, in the threefold miseries, Anubignamana, without being agitated in mind, Sukheshu in happiness, Vigatasvaha, without being interested, Vita, free from Raga, attachment, Vaya, Krodha, and anger, Sthitadhi, whose mind is steady, Muni, a sage, Uchyate is called. One who is not disturbed in spite of the threefold miseries, who is elect when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger is called Vinay. And means completed his mind in various ways for mental speculation without coming to a factual conclusion. It is said that every Muni has a different angle of view, and unless a Muni from other Munis, he is in a strict sense of term. Nash Munir, yes, but Sitadim is Sitadim mentioned herein by the Lord is different from an ordinary Muni. The Sitadim Muni is always in Krishna consciousness, and he has exhausted all his of creative speculation. He has surpassed the stage of mental speculation and has come to the concept that Sri Krishna Vasudev is everything. He is called a Muni fixed in mind. As a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of threefold misery, except as the mercy of the Lord, thinking only of his past misdeeds. He sees his miseries by the grace of the Lord are matched to the lowest. Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the grace. Happy to only grace that is comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. And for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active. And it's not attachment or aversion. Attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification. Sense of sensual attachment. But one fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment because his life is dedicated to the service of the Lord. Consequently, he is not at all angry when his attempts are unsuccessful. A Krishna conscious person is always steady in his determination. So, Shri Bhagavan was Kaman Sarman Patamogatan Atmani Atmana Tushasita Patyasta Dojate. Shri Bhagavan was the person of Prajahati. He abandons Yada and Kaman of desire, Sarvan, all types. Partha, Manah, arising from the mind. Atmani, within his concerned mind. Eva, indeed, Atma, by his blissful soul. Krishna is satisfied. Sthita Prajna, a person of intelligence, Sada, at that time, Uchyate called. Shri Bhagavan said, O Partha, when living entity renounces all material desires, arising from the mind, and with his mind the concerned becomes completely satisfied by the blissful person of own and myself. He is to be known as Sthita Prajna, a person of stability. Shri. Now, from these verse, beginning with the Prajapati and the end chapter, she answers four of Arjuna's questions in sequence. Sarvan denotes one who does not have a scent of their desire. The word Manogatan indicates the ability to give material desires born of non-spiritual nature, which are opposed to the nature of the soul. If the nature of these desires were spiritual, it would not be possible to give them up. Just as fire cannot give up heat, it is because the controlled mind, after realizing the Atma, which is blissful in nature, becomes satisfied by the Atma alone. The Shrutis confirm this. Yada sarve pramuchante karma ye asya hridisthita atamativa amruto bhavati atra brahma samashnute. When remove the realization of the absolute truth in the Bharatavashni Prakashika Vritti. One should also study the verse Atmani Evacha Santushta, Gita 3.17. The great devotee Prahlad Maharaj has given a similar instruction in Srimad Bhagavatam 7 Canto 10 chapter 9. Muchanti Rama Manavo Masisthitan Tarhi Eva Pandrikaksha Bhagavad Vaya Kalpate. O lotus-eyed Lord, when a man gives up all the material desires situated in his heart, he becomes eligible to attain opulences equal to your own. Verse 56. Dukkeshu anudignamana sukheshu vigataspuha vitaraga bhayakrodha vitadirmanyochate. Dukkeshu, in the presence of the threefold miseries, adhyatmika, pains given by oneself, bodily or mental, adhibhautika pains given by other living entities, other living creatures, and adaivic pains given by the demigods, heat and cold. Anudigna manaha, one whose mind is unagitated, sukheshu, in the presence of sense pleasures, vigata spruha, and remains free from hankering, vita, free from raga, attachment, bhaya, fear, krodha, and anger, sthitati, of fixed intelligence, muni, a sage, uchate called. One who is not disturbed by the three types of miseries given by one's own body or mind, given by others, and given by the demigods or nature, who remains free from hankering in the presence of plentiful opportunities for sensual happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger is called a sage of steady mind. Sarthavaksini. How does one who is fixed, who is of intelligence speak? To answer this question, Shri Bhagavan speaks the present verse, beginning with Dukkeshu, and also the next verse. Dukkeshu means the threefold miseries, Adhyatmika, Adhibhautika, and Adhidevika. Adhyatmika miseries are hunger, thirst, fever, headache, and so on. They come from one's own body and mind. Adhibhautika miseries are caused by other living entities such as a snake or a tiger, and Adhidevika miseries such as excessive rain or natural disasters caused by the demigods. Anutigna manaha refers to a person whose mind is undisturbed. When he is faced with these miseries due to my past actions, and I have to suffer this. Knowing this, he either deliberates upon misery himself, understanding the misery to be due to the reactions to his own past action, or he speaks openly and without duplicity when questioned by us. In either case, his face shows no agitation, even in the presence of these miseries. This absence of disturbance is evident to those who are experiencing the symptom. However, it is obvious when an imitator artificially manifests symptoms of tolerance. Those who are expert call that imitator correct. Similarly, he who remains free from that when a happy situation appears, knowing it to be enjoyment, resulting from past actions, either contemplates it within himself or enlightens others. His actual response to this also is understood by learned men. The present verse clarifies the symptoms, describing such persons as Vitaraga, detached from happiness, number one. Number two, Vitavaya, free from the fear that entities such as tigers may eat them. And number three is Vita Krodha, free from anger even towards a person who comes to attack or kill them. An example of this is Jadabharata. No fear or anger arose in him when a dacoit king, Vrishada, took him to the deity of Devi Kali as a human sacrifice. Sarartha Vashri Prakashita Vritti. A person whose heart is not disturbed by the threefold miseries, Adhyatmika, Adhibhautika, and Adhidevika, who is devoid of the desire to gain happiness and who does not become elated when happiness comes to him, is called a person of fixed intelligence, Sthita Prajna. Na Prabhushita Priyam Prapya, no Dvijeta Prapya Cha Priyam, Dhira Buddhir Asamuro Brahmani Sthita. Bhagavad Gita 5.20. A person who does not become elated when attaining something dear to him is called Sthita Prajna. The example of this is the life of Bharat Maharaj, as described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Bharat Maharaj was worshipping Bhagavan. In the last part of his life, he became attached to an infant deer. Due to this state of mind upon leaving his body, he went to birth as a deer. But because he remembered his previous birth, he remained isolated from the association of family and friends and spent his time in the hermitages of the sages, hearing topics of Bhagwan. As a result of his worship of Bhagwan in his previous life, he took his next birth in the house of a religiously devoted Brahmana. Internally, he always remembered Shri Bhagwan, but externally, he kept himself completely aloof from the world by pretending to be a madman. Even though his father diligently tried to make him learn the Veda, Jada Bharat protected all ill treatment and taunts by his stepmother, thus and while remaining ecstatic result for Bhagwan. Once Vishal, king of Thebes, desired a son, and he wanted to offer a human being who was free from all bodily flaws in sacrifice to his worshipable goddess Bhadrakali. He had basically captured a suitable person for sacrifice, but somehow the man had escaped. When the Deccan king was wandering in search for his escaped offering, he saw the Mahabhagavad Jadabharat protecting his family's fields. The dacoit king became happy when he saw that Jadabharat was blessed with a body appropriate for the sacrifice. According to the rules for sacrificing a human, he fed Jadabharat nicely, decorated him with turmeric powder, garlands, and flour paste, and eventually presented him in front of Kali Devi as an offering. The topmost devotee Jadabharat saw, heard, and was aware of all this, but he felt neither fear nor anger. Rather, he simply stood there completely free from anxiety, fixed in remembrance of Bhagwan. Just as the robbers were ready to seize Jadabharata's head, Kali Devi herself appeared in ferocious form, making a loud noise. She snatched a sword from the hand of King Rishabha and beheaded him and all his servants. After drinking their blood, she danced and played with their heads as if they were balls. Finally, with great affection, she sent the great devotee Jadabharat on his way. This deity of Bhadrakali is still present in Kurukshetra. While describing this history of Jadabharat, Srimad Bhagavatam 5.9.20, Srimad Goswami says to Parikshit Maharaj, O Vishnu God, one who is always protected by the arms of the Lord, Bhagavan Shri Vishnu, who carries the Sudarshan Chakra, is death to death personified. He is always anxious to look after his devotees. He completely protects such exalted devotees who have become free from falsely identifying the body as the self, who have performed a very difficult task of severing the knot of mundane attachment, whose hearts are anxiously absorbed in thoughts of doing welfare to all living entities, and who neither harm others nor feel enmity towards them. Such swan-like devotees, Paramahamsas, who accept the shelter of Sri Bhagavan's fearless lotus feet, are never disturbed even at the time of their own execution. There is nothing surprising about this. So, amazing pastimes of Jadabharat we are seeing. So we'll stop here. We'll carry on from next verse, verse number 57. Yaha Sarvatran Aviniveshas. We'll begin from next time. Verse 2.56 or 2.57. There's some discrepancy. Other one shows 2.57. Either way, we are following both Gitas, the online version, and we are reading. These are very beautiful translations and commentaries of both Acharyas, Srila Gurudeva and Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. So we are benefiting. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatra vaishya kripa sindhu vivaccha paritanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Govinda jai jai Gopal jai Radha Ramana Hari Govinda jai jai Govinda jai jai Gopal jai jai Radha Ramana Hari Govinda jai jai Radhe 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 Jai 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 Sri Radhe 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 Jai Sri Radhe 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 Jai Jai Sri Radhe 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 Jai Jai Sri Radhe Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol 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 Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Thank you, devotees. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you so much. Please can you Jai Jai Diwani?
जय श्री शिवर गौरांग गंधर्व विद्याधारी श्री श्री राधा जी की जय निकला गुरु शिष्य भक्तिदान नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज की जय निकला शिष्य भक्तिदान वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय निकला वृष्ण विष्णु शिष्य भक्तिदान त्रिविक्रम गोस्वामी महाराज की जय निकला वृष्ण विष्णु शिष्य गौरगंध गोस्वामी महाराज की जय निकला कृष्ण विष्णुपा शिष्य भक्तिदान साई महाराज की जय। आचार्य के श्री कृष्ण भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जय। सबरी गजर गुरु श्री भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपी गोवर्धन दशनात्मक मंडल की जय। हरिनाम संकीर्तन की आनंद कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। त्रिंडी स्वामी श्री भक्तिदांत दंडी महाराज की जय। रामेश्वर संत श्री अनिरुद्धास प्रभु की जय। पटेल से वृंद की जय। दामवासी भक्त वृंद की जय। समागत भक्त वृंद की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि बोल। We also offer tribute to Jesus Christ who came to India and he inquired what is the name of God. So they told the name of God is Krishna and he pronounced it as Christ or Christos. So he said, my father is Krishna. He was also a devotee of Lord Krishna and we offered tribute to him. He was also a pure devotee. Thank you so much. See you next week. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Prams. Thank you so much, Maj. Shripad Bhakti Vedanta Vishnu Daivata Mj ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Vaishnavi
Thank you, Didi.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for attending today, and thank you, dear devotees, for attending, and we'll see you all tomorrow for Madhurya Kadambani. Thank you, Hare Krishna, Dhanyavad Param. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.